DDG, episode 103. My name is Dave Hunt, and I'm joined by Michael Swick.
How's it going, Dave? We're starting a little later than usual, but that's partly me, and then partly you got busy as well. But we're live on Twitch. We made it. We're on Tuesday.
Yeah.
Back to Tuesdays.
Twitch.tv/Digital Days Gaming, where you can watch us live or on demand, as well as other episodes are on demand for about 2 weeks back, and then if we do a good enough job, mostly if Michael remembers, because I don't remember at all, we try to post those shows to YouTube. So that's the youtube.com/Digital Days Gaming. Those links are in the show notes. You can check those out. Like Michael said, we're a weekly podcast that posts every Thursday on podcast services, 6 a.m. Eastern time. If you can leave us a review, that's super helpful. Sharing the show is also tremendously helpful. Supporting us in any way that you can, whether it's reviewing or sharing or Twitch subbing or just subbing or buying a t-shirt or on Patreon, any of those things is awesome and appreciated, and just great. So you can, if you need some hoodies as we're getting into the fall, we have those on Teesprings. I've got one. I'll tweet some pictures about that later. But other than that, we are going to get into the news. A little bit of a lighter news week.
Yeah, pretty light week, which is understandable. I think right now, game industry is probably finalizing what's going to be included in the Game Awards and what is not going to be included in the Game Awards. So that's going to determine how the news breaks out over the next couple weeks. Because Game Awards don't have, if a game company doesn't get included in Game Awards, they'll probably just do their own thing or just hold out until like GDC, which is usually in March.
What happened to TGS?
It happened, I believe.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it happened. But it was just a digital event, so it wasn't like anything really happened, as far as I know. But TGS has always been it felt like downscaling the last couple years.
Yeah. Not necessarily towards Western or to us.
Yeah.
There's definitely there's a lot of people that get excited about some stuff in TGS, and you can usually take, like, if they do like 10 or 12 announcements, there's usually like 2 or 3 that are relevant to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, especially as stuff becomes more global, TGS just isn't the platform. If you're going to do like worldwide games, you're going to hold that back. I think mostly came out of TGS was just the Final Fantasy, that weird Final Fantasy game, and then the Final Fantasy 14 stuff, I believe, was during TGS. But right now, we're just kind of waiting to the Game Awards, and then Microsoft has their 20th anniversary stream, which, as far as I know,
November 15th?
I believe so, but they already said don't expect new game announcements, but the current rumor is they'll just announce more backwards compatibility stuff there. So
they came out over the weekend, and there was like a whole bunch of speculation and teasing about Fable, and then they came out and said, nope, sorry, if we gave off that impression, not good. No, that's not what we intended. So.
Yeah, so they're at least getting in front of that now. So here's what we do have. Nintendo, they had a Direct last week for Animal Crossing, but before that, they did their big announcement for the expansion pack, and the expansion pack seems like a kind of a waste of money, but we'll go over that right now. So, the expansion pack, which is coming soon, it is going to cost $49.99 a year. This is a $30 expansion pack, basically, because currently 1 year costs $20. So this is a $30 expansion. This includes an assortment of N64, Genesis, and Sega Genesis games, and then also the $25 Animal Crossing DLC, which by itself, the Animal Crossing DLC seems like a super overpriced expansion to Animal Crossing based on what you're getting compared to like the free update that also is going to live before this. Yep. So that is why it's $50. So you're getting some N64 games, some Genesis games, and a $25 Animal Crossing DLC, regardless if you play Animal Crossing. So there's no price adjustment at all for that. Nintendo.
That's the first weird part to me, is that the Animal Crossing DLC, because actually you saying it right now is like, I had just kind of like, when I saw it, I didn't really look super heavily into it. I know you had put the tweet out, and there was a little bit of conversation about the tweet, but I thought it was just like they were essentially giving you access to Animal Crossings, like the whole game.
Nope, just DLC. And so that Nintendo did confirm later on to, I believe, Eurogamer, that you do lose access to the DLC when you unsubscribe. So you'd have to buy it. They did say your items that you unlock or created using the expansion, those would still remain yours, but like the actual access to the different areas or whatever that's in the DLC, you lose that unless you buy the DLC or resubscribe. But I haven't played Animal Crossing in a while. Like, the DLC looks okay, but even that seems like a waste of money to throw onto this. Because like for someone like you who doesn't play Animal Crossing at all, you should have no interest in this, you know.
And I don't, and I wonder how much this is weighing into the price. Like, would this thing have been $39.99 without the Animal Crossing DLC? $34.99. And then also, like, this is kind of getting into the Xbox Game Pass and PS Plus standards of, okay, so you gave us a $25 Animal Crossing DLC like this quarter. Like, what are you giving us next quarter, or what are you giving us next month? You know.
Like, is the next Zelda game, is their expansion going to be on?
Yeah, or Hyrule Warriors DLC or something like that. Or a Smash DLC. Like we've been talking about. Like, there's certain things of where you do this. Like, why is it Animal Crossing? Sure, it's one of your considered to be a marquee franchise, but it also got a pandemic bump, a huge pandemic bump. Like, massive pandemic bump. I like, no disrespect to Animal Crossings, but the main reason that it did as well as it did is because people were stuck at home.
Yeah, but like, so is this Animal Crossing DLC just on this service forever to the end of time?
Right.
Do they swap it out for another DLC? Like,
right. Do they add to it? Do they layer on more? Like, you know, because like we're supposed to be the Sega N64 library is supposed to be expanding over time, correct?
Yeah, just like the SNES and NES one did, but it never had great expansions. It was just like, hey, here's 3 games added to it. Nothing retired, luckily, but when we get to
so they've never retired anything. So again, they're setting a precedent of, okay, this Animal Crossing is here to stay. Now, if I guess my cost advocate person thinking is, if you already own Animal Crossing, and you already own the online package at $20 a year, and you have plans on buying Animal Crossing DLC, then this is a no-brainer. It's $5. It's $5.
Yeah, but that's if this actually, we haven't seen the upgrade path in terms of like, does it stack? Does it just convert? Are you losing?
Yeah. But time. I'm just saying, like, if you already own Animal Crossings and you're paying to be online, you're paying $20 a year, and then you're going to buy the $25 DLC, then so it's $25 for the DLC, $20 for the online pass, $45. This thing is $50. For $5, you get all the other stuff.
But the only thing I would say to that is, say you already bought into the Nintendo Switch Online for the next 2 years, are you really going to drop $50 for this to then get a $25 expansion and some N64 games? Probably not. Especially knowing that you might, you're gonna lose that stuff, once you let it lapse. Like, I let my PlayStation Plus membership, I have that like 3 years out, because it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't see myself ever not needing it. And
or you see it for $27 when you got the day after you got paid or something, and you're like, okay, cool, whatever. So.
And like my Xbox, since I'm new to it, I'm on the all access thing, so I don't have to worry about that for 2 years. But my Nintendo one, in the 4 years that console's been out, I've let that lapse several times.
You don't realize it's gone until you go to do something. Oh,
yeah. Because they don't provide online games. Like, Tetris Effect is the thing that got me to sign up last time, but then when I stopped playing Tetris Effect and my membership lapsed, I'm like, whatever. Because I got to the point where I just let it do the 3 months every once in a while, because I just forget about it. And I'm like, shit, they charged me for 3 months because I turned off.
That sucks. Or you're like, all right, let me just spend $10 or whatever for 3 months, and I probably won't be playing Tetris in 2 months later, and I'll just let it lapse, and then I'll pick it up again later. I get it, yeah. And like for me, it would probably be something similar. I think the main feature that we like currently right now at my house is the accessibility between the two consoles. Because we have 2 separate Switches, but realistically, we probably I got the OLED this week, but we're probably going to go down to 1 Switch, because now with like an Xbox and a PS5 and a PS4 and a Switch, there isn't. I don't feel like there's going to be massive situations where Owen desperately wants to play. that when I'm playing, or vice versa.
Yeah,
at least on the Switch. So
yeah, and that's the thing. Like right now, I'm not paying for Nintendo Online. At least I don't think. I might be, but I'm pretty sure I'm not. But when I have like the 3 services where like I'm bought in on All Access because I have no choice because I bought it through All Access.
Yeah, but that's one of those things. Again, you knew what it's like that. I feel like that the Game Pass Ultimate or whatever was just a throw in with All Access. You're like, all right, whatever. It's like $2 more.
Exactly. And with the PSN, like I'm bought in for the next year and a half until it expires, and I'm gonna just keep looking for a deal because I don't.
And that's
see
our background. That's our background. That's that's where our friends are. Like that's where 90% of my players are. Like that I play games with online is on PlayStation. So and that getting PS Plus, and again, same thing for my situation is PS Plus. My son with primary console for my primary on his and his primary on mine, we share one PS Plus account right now. So like that's just another no brainer. Like and
But I'm going to be at one point, like in the next year or so, where I will probably have to renew PS Plus, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, and Nintendo Switch Online around the same time, and the Nintendo Switch Online is not going to,
Yeah, unless the 64 and Sega library like expand massively.
Yeah.
But even then, old game is old.
Yeah, especially like I think companies are, like I was excited for like, oh, maybe they'll add Game Boy Advance games, which they're still going to do eventually based on like the code that was found. But then you see like the work that Konami did and like the Castlevania collection for the Game Boy Advance games. And it's just like, shit, I'd rather play Game Boy Advance games like that, even though you pay a premium for that, than I would be them just putting the ROMs like they do with the SNES and NES games. Like,
Is there a point in time where I didn't mean to cut you off, I'm sorry, where you think that they need to start offering like one Switch title as part of the online subscription, like a relatively current thing? Like we just talked about last week about the numbers. Like at this point in time, like what does it hurt for them to offer Mario Kart?
No, so I mean they did that with Tetris Effect.
We're almost at the same cost of Xbox Live Gold and PS Plus.
So I think that would be good. They've dabbled in it with Tetris Effect, and then there's like 1 or 2 other things that are like kind of included. Technically, Pokemon Unite, you need an online membership, so you might as well include Pokemon Unite in that conversation. I don't think Nintendo needs to do that. Would I like them to do that? Yes. But based on the sales we were talking about for their individual games now, and the fact that those games, people freak out when like Zelda goes for $40 because they're like, oh shit, it's finally on sale, and it's like a 4-year-old game because Nintendo's just conditioned the fan base to be like, our games are a premium experience, you will pay a premium price for it. So I don't think they need to do it. I would like them to do it though. I would like them to release like Splatoon 1 or 2 on the service because it's also an online game, so it makes sense to be like, hey, you can experience this online.
Yeah, that's kind of like where I thought about Mario Kart. Like where Mario Party. Just or even given an older Mario Party at this point in time, like kind of giving the players like some of the experience of I don't know. I just think that society, consumers are accustomed to getting a device and paying for a subscription right now, no matter what it is, like Twitch or Amazon Prime or Netflix or Hulu. Like they're all things of like, hey, I just bought this really, really cool TV. It's like $1,100 and it's 4K and HDR. Like, okay, cool. Like, oh, I need to re-up my Hulu or my ESPN subscription. It just kind of comes with the territory.
Yeah, I just think Nintendo just right now they haven't even provided like a good enough baseline online service right now.
Agreed. Yeah.
And that's where I ultimately get frustrated. I mean, they just finally added Bluetooth, to their system.
Finally turned it on.
Yeah, they finally turned it on. Voice chat still requires you to use your phone. No,
and I agree 100%. And and I'm almost okay with like PS Plus for me and Xbox Live, which now is just wrapped in a like tight little box with Game Pass. But like I look at PS Plus as $40 or $50 just to play online a year. That the games are great. Like sure, like whatever they offer as part of the games are great. The sales are great, but it costs me, I'm giving you money to maintain your servers. And for the most part, other than a few hiccups, but I can't really think of one recently, the PS Plus or PS servers, PlayStation servers have been fine.
Yeah, they hit their usual thing, the same thing Xbox does, where like around the holidays they kind of go down. and maybe you'll have a couple hour window. Yeah, but like I actually feel like I'm paying for an online service when I'm using my PS5 and my Xbox. Just because, you know what, the party system works, you know, all that stuff is fine, as opposed to like on Nintendo, where I really pay $20 a year to play Tetris Effect every once in a while, which is just kind of crazy. Because I don't know. My first console I owned with my own money is an N64. So I should be excited that N64 games are coming, but I'm just not. And then when they announced like the $50 price tag, it was just like, okay, yeah. I was considering buying that $50 wireless N64 controller just to have it, but it's just like, now I'm like, oh, even more, I'm not going to use it. And I think what bothers me the most about this whole thing is like, I don't give a shit about the Sega Genesis. Not that I don't love the Sega Genesis, but I've gotten these games in so many different collections already since like the PS2 era. I think that's when the Genesis collection started to come out. So I have a PS2 Genesis collection. I have a PS3 Genesis collection. I have the PS4 Genesis collection. There's been like the mini Genesis console thing. Like you can pick up most of those games on your phone. So the idea that the Genesis collections is kind of thrown in here. And I think most of those games are available individually on the eShop already. So it's just like, what's the point?
Well, and then the other kicker is like, I correct me if I'm wrong, you might actually know this answer better than me. Like, you can't play these Super Nintendo games if you're not on Wi-Fi.
I believe that is the case, because I remember trying to play it at the airport before I connected to the airport Wi-Fi, and it wouldn't load for me.
Right, it's like it's got to verify the license. Now, PS Plus and Xbox Live have to do the same thing, but I'm pretty sure that it knows, like, you know, in terms of when you go to check your subscription, it'll tell you when it expires for PS Plus. Therefore, it's like, I think as long as you downloaded a PS Plus game, obviously connected to the internet to download it, you can still play it if your internet's out for that day or you're offline.
Correct. Yeah, because if you look at game content or like info, it'll tell you when you lose access to that game, and that is when the thing expires. Which is why like the CMOS battery thing was such a like worry thing.
So for a system that pushes and does a great job of being a portable, for the most part, like, you can't use these features in a portable sense.
Yeah. As far as I know, they could have tweaked it, but it's been so long since I've done that. Or if it has to do a handshake every couple hours, I would have to double check that. But yeah, that's another thing to consider with this whole thing. Do you see Nintendo backing down on price or anything?
No,
not
they
at
don't
all.
care.
Because they're going to make money.
Here's the crazy part is like, and they don't really report any of these numbers, but when they release this, like, it'll probably be trending on Twitter.
The N64 and the Genesis controllers already sold out. Like,
yeah. So what are they buying that for? Like, because they're gonna buy. It's like, you know, I mean, it's 30% of the people bought it to leave it in the box and put it on their counter or on their bookshelf. Sure, but you know, 60% or so bought it because, you know, they want to use it and play the games, and, you know, more power to them. But, you know, it is what it is. Like, I haven't seen figures for Skyward Sword, but I bet you that's pretty damn high for a remake that nobody supposedly wanted.
Yeah, no, they'll do just fine on no sales. We are jumping over to the PC side. So the Steam Deck is coming out. I believe they're going to start launching or start shipping some of those consoles within the next month. It's in multiple waves. I'm curious to see how many people are in each wave. They know they're about to get their next stimulus check from the Animal Crossing DLC and expansion. So, about Nintendo. But for Steam specifically, they're releasing the Steam Deck within the next month or two in waves, and they're starting to deal with the thing where developers have Steam Decks to check to make sure their games are compatible. Because even though this is technically a portable PC, there's still a lot of things to go into it to get a game running. Or make sure it's compatible. So Steam is going to actually add different like badges and categories to Steam to let you know if it's compatible. And they're actually going to be testing all the games. They claim they're going to test all the games, but we're talking about thousands and thousands of games. So we'll see how that goes.
Who gets to be that intern?
So they're going to have 4 categories that every game is going to be marked under. It's going to be verified. And this is basically Valve saying it has complete system report, comes with full controller support, no compatibility warnings, and supports Steam Deck native resolutions. There's going to be playable, which is like runs fine, but may need some tinkering. The user may have to select the community controller configuration, need to use the touchscreen to run the launcher and stuff like that. Then there's just going to be a flat out unsupported, so any VR game will be listed as unsupported. Doesn't mean you can't try and run it. I think Valve has said you could feasibly connect your VR headset to the Steam Deck. It's just not going to be a great time. And then there's just unknown. Valve has not assessed the game yet. So there are going to be the 4 categories to make sure Steam Deck people are not, misled when they download a game to their Steam Deck. And then the basic criteria is just like how seamless it is to play it. Does it support the actual display quality or resolution, and then just system support. So they'll also further this and have a Great on Deck tab on the Steam Deck homepage, which just sounds stupid, but the Great on Deck part sounds stupid, but like that is the badge you're going to be looking for games on Steam. Dave, any thoughts on this? I mean, at least Valve's doing the work as opposed to their other stuff where they kind of just release it and let it happen.
Yeah, like them doing the work, like that's great. I think that, I guess, again, from a consumer standpoint, I would be curious to A, if this list is available now, and then B, if it is, it should have been available sooner. If it isn't available now, it should have been available prior to even us talking about this. Because even if I see something that I don't like, if I'm in the market for a Steam Deck, I don't know if the games that I want to play on it will run on it. And then if I do find out a game will run on it, that's a game changer for me, or like a something to make me get a Steam Deck. I can't get one now.
Yeah, you can't get one. Even if you can, they kind of just tell you like Q1 shipping, and that could mean anything for the most part. But yeah, they start shipping in December, so I guess we'll start to see it. We have been seeing them in the wild because it seems like a good amount of developers have them. From AAA to indie developers have been given
I guess
Steam Decks.
my biggest question currently would be right now is, like, obviously we know that this is a cool system. It's a cool idea that you can hook up to your TV or hook up to any kind of monitor to play it, and and supports controller mode. It's a portable, air quoted PC. Fantastic, great idea. But is there anything only available on Steam, and you probably have a little bit more knowledge than I would of this, that is there anything available only on Steam that you would want to play in a handheld mode that you can't get on Switch?
Probably 70% of the indie games that are out there. Like, there's still like some gatekeeping that happens on the Switch to where a lot of indie games are just coming to PC first, and then they come to Switch. And then you have the ones that are coming to PS4 and PC at the same time. So there's still that weird thing where all these developers or all the platform holders don't consider PC competition, so they'll allow exclusivity for a console that then come to PC at the same time. And that includes, all sorts of indie games. I mean, this kind of goes against what you were saying, but like like Hades was Steam, or it was Epic Game Store exclusive, PC exclusive, and it was out on Switch before it came to the other consoles. And we have the opposite of that with like Devolver games tend to be PlayStation and PC at the same time, and then eventually they come to the other platforms. So if you want that handheld experience for a lot of these indie games, and a lot of indie games I think will shine on a Steam Deck, that would be like the reason to get it.
Yeah, I mean, I 100% understand what you're saying, but I just feel like anybody that's already a PC gamer does. I don't see it. I mean, I guess this would be a secondary thing for them to take with them somewhere. Like,
yeah, I mean, what would also help is currently even indie games are starting to run like shit on the Switch. So this being able to run an indie game at 60 frames per second is a lot more appealing.
But you can't find it.
Yeah, you can't find it. Yeah. But I'm sure, you can't find anything right now. Like Switch OLEDs are, kind of difficult to get, but not as difficult as this because only Steam's controlling it. But for the most part, I think we'll probably see less people trying to scout the Steam Decks than we were seeing with the PS5s and the Switches and stuff. Just because Valve is putting enough like safeguards in there. And also it's a niche item. Like, I don't think there's a mass market for this. And I think Valve knows that. So I think Valve is willing
like
to support it.
a 12 or 13-year-old is not going to have this device at the top of their Christmas list.
Yeah. No, this is for a very specific audience that hopefully Valve is interested in enough to continue to release them. Though if Valve says by the summer, like, oh, we stop producing them, I wouldn't be surprised. And then it'll just be a Switch.
A really cool looking device that can plug to your TV.
Yeah. But that is kind of it for the news. We did get a game delay. And that is Elden Ring. So Elden Ring, originally expected to release in January, is now releasing February 25th. They were very smart, though, when they made this announcement, because they also, said, hey, we're delaying to February 25th, but you can sign up now for the closed network test in November. So people were sad.
Console only. So.
Yeah, console only. So people were sad, but then they immediately ran to the website to then sign up and try and get into this network test.
Yeah. So, I mean, we did have DC fandom over the weekend. We got another story trailer for Gotham Knights. I can't wait for that game to come out, as long as it doesn't come out in February.
Yeah.
Or March, for that matter. And then I actually didn't get a chance to watch this one, but we did get a Suicide Kill the Justice League trailer.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Did you see that one?
Yeah, I saw that one. That one, it was all cinematic though, so no gameplay.
Okay.
Both of them were
similar. Gotham Knights was very similar as well.
Yeah, this one, I mean, they at least showed like the full Justice League, all corrupted and attacking and looking all evil. So they at least showed some aspects of what you can expect. I know it was called Kill the Justice League, but I was super skeptical of like what direction they would take the Justice League, but it looks like exactly what we would expect from Rocksteady in terms of like character designs and everything. It did dawn on me this past weekend though that they basically, this now makes all the confusion make sense. For the years, Rocksteady was like, oh, they're making a Superman game. No, they're not making a Superman game. They're making a Flash game. No, they're not making a Flash game. They're making a Wonder Woman game. It's like, no.
They're making all of the above.
Yeah, they're making all of this, and it's a Suicide Squad game. So it looks like it's working out exactly like we were talking about when they first announced the game, that the Justice League are just going to be the bosses. Like, they already showed, like, the grunt characters you're going to be fighting, but it probably... Each chapter is going to end with a boss battle that is a Justice League member that you got to take down. So I guess like maybe...
I hope there's some kind of cool mechanic to that, like not just a bullet sponge kind of thing. Or I don't even really know how. Yeah, I don't know. Not really sure how that's going to work, because like we're being led to believe this is somewhat of a games as a service, right?
Yeah. Did they walk that back? I can't remember if they walked that back. Okay. I know Gotham Knights.
Or maybe said, not a game. Yeah, Gotham Knights. Yeah, like they said no, but maybe not even as a games as a service, but evolving content. I guess. Like, I don't think that you're gonna have the whole. Like, is the campaign gonna be against the whole Justice League, or do you think that 3 months or 4 months down the road you're gonna fight somebody else, and then 3 months down the road you're gonna fight somebody else?
No, I think it's gonna have a traditional like campaign where you are fighting the Justice League. Maybe they add more members to the Justice League as it goes, because like. We saw in the trailer, we see like the Batmobile, so we assume Batman's in there. I don't think we saw him actually in the game, but we saw the Batmobile. We saw Green Lantern, we saw the Flash, we saw Superman. So I would imagine those are the story ones you're going against. Maybe later down the road they'll add like Martian Manhunter, and they can keep adding to the Justice League. But okay. I would imagine they aren't going to go the Avengers route, though they probably could. But I would imagine they saw how the Avengers went and were like, maybe we don't go fully down that route. I don't know how exactly they would want to approach that.
Yeah, I'd have to look into some more other interviews around that game again and check.
Yeah.
Because to be honest with you, until DC fandom was, to be fully honest, I kind of forgot about it.
I did too. It wasn't until I was like at work, and then I was like, "Oh, DC fandom's going on," but I just watched the trailers that mattered, which was the Flash trailer, the Batman trailer, and then the 2 video game trailers.
I was more impressed with the Batman movie trailer.
That's what I mean.
Flash, and the Flash trailer, like those are. But I just don't like the new phrase that they put on all the end of these trailers of "in production." Like, oh, great, thanks.
Yeah. But that
was for the games and the movies, I believe.
Yeah, because I think Gotham Knights still has just a 2022 release date, and I don't remember what the release year tag was for Suicide Squad, but I think it was 2023.
I think it's always been 2022 or 2023, yeah.
But yeah,
No, I think so. I think Gotham was 2021, Suicide Squad was 2022, and when Gotham got pushed, Suicide inadvertently got pushed as well.
Yeah, so it's 2022 for Gotham, and then
they did like the similar to like what the Marvel's been doing with their movies of like, okay, we've got movie 1, 2, 3, now it's going to be movie 1 is coming in 2 spot, 2's coming in 3 spot. We have a new spot for 4.
Yeah. I just would like to know what their plan is for how far apart do you think you need to release these? Like a year apart, right? You don't want to
6 months at least.
Yeah.
Because if as long as Gotham stays in front of Suicide Squad, 6 months at least. Because if Suicide Squad is trying to do any kind of continuous content at all, Gotham needs to be out, played, on sale, played, done.
Yeah, I wonder if there is any sort of plan for post-launch for Gotham Knights. I would imagine maybe an expansion, but then they'd probably get into that territory.
They could just do a whole bunch of costume DLC and then little, like, add another villain and a little, like, because what were they, like, a lot of the Catwoman stuff and, like, this, like, side mission stuff that the Arkham games did. I feel like they could build on top of that a little bit, like, $10 thingies that are, a couple of hours of stuff to do and more. I don't mean to say this in a bad way when I say this, but more junk to find in the open world.
Well, and that's what my thing I was gonna ask you is like, how successful do you think that stuff really was, though? Because I never heard anyone really talking about jumping into that post content for Arkham.
I think it was okay, and I think it just did better. It just made their Game of the Year editions look better.
Yeah,
that's all.
Okay,
that another version of the game coming out that looked better. Because Arkham Knight, I remember, like, I think I got it. I still haven't finished it. I got it on some ridiculous price error thing on a Black Friday, and did the amount of like microtransactions. Like, I guess that's the thing is like we're so far away from Arkham's, Arkham Knights and Arkham City and Arkham Asylums releasing to this. The stuff that they released as like cosmetic packages now would have been microtransactions. And they released it more as like character or skin bundles, I think they were calling them, where you could get like a different version of the Batmobile and you could get different Batman suits and different Robin suits and and that stuff would now be microtransactions. So I'll be very curious to how they deal with that with the 4 characters that are in it. How far in depth they go with the suits, how far in depth they go with vehicles or motorcycles, like, and how they do that. Is that just going to be in the game as microtransactions? Is that going to be in the game as earnable through picking up, I don't even know, stealth kill currency? Like, I have no idea. Like, and they've been, for the most part, DC's been very, very quiet about the development of all their stuff, except for during these fandom things. And you get this huge spike in DC conversation, and then you get this huge valley for like 6 months.
Yeah, probably also doesn't help that like DC has been like kind of sold, kind of not sold, and all that craziness at Warner Brothers is probably like super interfered with like their game plan in terms of like, yeah, we think our marketing budget is going to be like this. Let's just hope whoever owns us by the time we need to market this game is cool with us spending this money. Because I still don't really. Does Discovery
and
own
they self-publish?
DC? Yeah,
no, and they self-publish. So
yeah,
or they have at least in the past self-published.
Yeah, because it's just Warner Brothers proper doing it. So yeah, I wonder how that's going to shake out because I still don't know who owns DC at this point. It's like Warner Brothers does, but they sold Warner Brothers to Discovery, but I have no idea. Or they spun out DC. It's a confusing mess. Or AT&T still owns DC, is still on the table. I have no idea what they're doing. But yeah, that's it for the news. Outside of the Elden Ring, I kind of jumped the gun on that. But yeah, now February is just a mess. And looking at, we were talking about earlier before we recorded, just like February and March fumbles in our Discord, like listed out all the February releases and the March releases, to where I would imagine Gotham Knight is probably in that window. They probably want to release that before March 31st.
In that window no more.
I think they're going to end up doing it anyways, depending on how they want to make their financials look.
They better put it out in January.
They might have to at this point, because like February is Dying Light, Horizon Forbidden West, Sifu, Elden Ring, and Saints Row, and then March is like Pokemon, Gran Turismo 7, Strangers of Paradise Final Fantasy, the Borderlands game. Those are all in February and March. So
Life is Strange is in there. Destiny's expansion is in there also.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff. So Gotham Knight will probably be a January game, I would imagine. Or
I hope.
or
that
they're
would be like, I think that'd be a great time for it if I can get off my video game funk.
yeah, or they're just going to rely on tax season to bail them out through March. But I would imagine Warner Brothers probably wants to get that out before the fiscal year ends at the end of March. So that's it for news and forecasting for February.
Forecasting. All right, so what we're playing and watching. So mine is still very short. I've still kind of just been in this, I don't even know really what to call it, like a funk, or it's almost been like a month now. It's getting kind of crazy. Like for me, like I did get into Far Cry, and the first thing that I realized is that, one, like I mentioned last week, like going through the same content that I played at a preview session is a pain in the ass. And then two, the game looks so much better on my PlayStation 5 upstairs on my big TV than it did on the streaming service that I played it on. Not that it was anything wrong with that, like getting the opportunity to play that game. It looked good on the computer, but now playing it, the final build of the game, it's just like the detail work and the crispness of it was a lot better. It just, there was things that were bugging me, I think, that were bugging me about the game that I played it when during the preview that maybe were kind of deterring me from playing it now when it came out, felt like they were gone. It just felt a lot more smoother. It felt like more, I guess my character felt like it had more weight to it. And I don't know if that's just, again, the final build or playing it on, a fully downloaded version of the game. So that's neither here nor there. So and again, like I know that there's a couple people in the community that have already been playing it, but it's more Far Cry. Like, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, other than now it's getting into the fifth and sixth version of this, fifth, sixth, or seventh, depending on how you classify New Dawn. Then it definitely is getting what I would call like a franchise fatigue to it. Nothing to do with the quality of the game, nothing to do with the quality of the story, the voice acting, all that stuff is spot on. I just think that it's just a lot to absorb, even for me that hasn't really played 1, 2, or 3 much. Now it's like, okay, I played 4, 5, 6 and New Dawn, and it's like, okay, like I'm just playing an expanded version of Far Cry in a different location. Messed around a little bit more with Destiny's Halloween event just because today was reset, kind of signed in there to see what was going on. This game is going into what I was already talked about a couple months ago, and it's going into a significant content drought for the next couple months, like this big long season. The Halloween event lasting a month. They typically don't do story bits during these seasons or during these events. When they've done Guardian games or they've done the summer solstice events and now the Halloween event, they typically don't do anything. They are getting ready to release something in December for their 30th anniversary. That is also like another piece of paid content that'll probably spark a little bit of life into the game. But I think that for the most part, they're just on cruise control and they're heavily focused on Witch Queen right now. And it sounds like that Witch Queen is going to take the game in a different direction campaign-wise, based on what they're saying. If they're going to deliver that, I mean, who knows? But this season is very, very, very bland right now. The seasonal activity is probably the most boring activity that they've had in the last 3 or 4 seasons. And then the loot just is not as interesting right now. They're relying a little bit more on their Trials PvP being enticing, and they've been messing around with matchmaking like crazy for that and kind of really frustrating a lot of people. So they're kind of just in this lull right now that they've gone into typically before big expansions or, if something cool comes out. I think sometime in November, before this 30th anniversary thing comes out, would be a great time for them to drop like a secret mission like they've done in years past, kind of out of nowhere, where something just kind of happens and the community figures it out over the weekend. That game could definitely use something like this at this point in time, just to get the players paying attention to it and be like, oh, this is fun. Like, oh yeah, this thing comes out like next week. This new collection comes out next week or in 2 weeks. So watching. So unfortunately, like as I've been doing a lot of stuff around the house and working on the house and trying to get into a routine, a little bit of an exercise routine with my Peloton. And then again, I got sick over the weekend. Not terribly sick, but just got a head cold. And that kind of got me off the bike, but also stopped me from playing games. Stopped me because I ended up watching randomness. So there is on Disney Plus, I'm going to get the name wrong because I don't have it in front of me, but there is a what I guess I would call a modern version of Doogie Howser on Disney Plus now, of a teenage doctor. And she's based in Hawaii, and her mom's like the head doctor. My wife and I ended up watching like 5 episodes of this one night. Funny show, decent one-liners. So it's Doogie Aloha or something like that. It's something Hawaiian
or something.
Yeah. So it's a funny show, something you could just kind of binge through. And then this is where Michael's going to be disappointed in me. So Sunday night, I was watching the Sunday Night Football game on NBC. So I had to go through Peacock, and there's an ad. And they're talking about Saved by the Bell season 2, and I actually watched Saved by the Bell season 1, the new Saved by the Bell, and it's really bad. And I kept watching.
Surprising, yeah.
And I finished the entire season. I didn't have to go into work until late on Monday, so nobody was home. And yeah, instead of like getting off my funk and playing video games, I watched a trash Saved by the Bell show, and I kept hitting next episode and then next episode, and I don't know why. I didn't.
I mean, I get that. I've definitely done that before, but like I just usually now fall down like a YouTube rabbit hole of like video game hunting or sport, like NBA season starting. So I've just been catching up on like NBA drama because I kind of mentally check out of every team of the Bulls. So I get that. I get that. We all make mistakes.
We did watch the Ted Lasso season finale for season 2. I think that was kind of interesting, and then it just makes you realize that the farther progression of how far out the next season of something is just crazy. Like, I'm ready for another season of Mandalorian. I'm ready for another season. I guess the Hawkeye show's coming at the end of November, which is great. It's just like Disney Plus is in a lull as well. Like like since Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
No, there was something after that. Loki.
Yeah, okay. So since Loki, that was like what, mid-July?
Yeah, I think
end of July. Like it's been, like they're not really doing anything until November. So Ted Lasso is very, very good. I would still definitely check that out. I am interested in seeing. I saw an advertisement for this, and I'm gonna get the name wrong, but it's coming to Netflix. The Colin Kaepernick story of kind of like him growing up. It's coming to Netflix as like a TV show, I think, or as like a mini series. So I think that would be, something pretty interesting. And then I'm still looking for, other shows. I think that's why we ended up watching the Doogie thing, the Doogie Howser thing, just because it was something that was on Disney Plus. We watched one episode and we're like, hey, this isn't terrible. And it was like 8:30 at night. So we ended up watching like 4 or 5 more, and it's like 11 o'clock. You can just keep, like there's no commercials. You can just, they're 20-minute episodes. You can just keep going. It's the same thing that happened with like Saved by the Bell. I don't like what they did with any of the characters.
Yeah.
like,
well,
at all.
We kind of went through that. Like we've been kind of ironically watching that Netflix show You.
Okay.
Which is like the serial killer, like romance TV show that Netflix does. It's like, oh, what if Dexter was written by the people that wrote Twilight, is like the vibe I get from that show. So I only watched like the last like 4 episodes of the season. It came out last week, and Sarah was watching it on her like off days, and I came home and she was like, oh, I'll watch this later. I'm like, no, I'll watch halfway through. Like, I don't care that there's only 4 episodes left. So I ended up like watching that just to laugh at for the most part. Even though if you look on like Twitter and stuff, people take that show super serious and love those characters, and I was just watching it like, this is really bad, but it still didn't stop me from like, okay, no, let's just do the next episode. Let's do the next episode.
And then so many people that are talking about, like you had talked about this last week, so many people are talking about how good Squid Game is, and then I look at a preview or a trailer for Squid Game, and I'm like, I don't want to watch that.
I watched that this weekend. Like, we finished it all within like 2 days. I liked it. I think the ending kind of sucked for the most part. Is
this something I need to watch, and we can do like a Patreon episode for it?
It would probably be interesting. I think you would probably have the same thoughts I had in terms of like where the show ends. It's one of those things where, not to spoil anything, but it's just like one of those things where it's like, when you ever watch a movie or TV show where you're like, that's a good ending, and then there's like 30 minutes more. That's kind of how I felt with like Squid Game, where it's just like, okay, cool, that's a good way to end, and then it's like, here's another 30 minutes, and then I'm just like, oh, that's just a little disappointing.
Advent's like, the ending almost ruins it the way Game of Thrones ended.
Yeah, me and him were actually talking about that while we were playing Back 4 Blood, of just like, it kind of was just like, oh man, if only someone would have been like, you found a good ending, and then cut cut away, but instead they're like, we still have 40 minutes to fill, and then they kept going. But it's still, I think it's worthwhile to watch because it's an interesting show.
I need to download Back for Blood. I need to put that on my console and then so I can play it. Like I haven't even downloaded it yet, and I haven't even clicked my Xbox on in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks.
Just make sure I'm not doing that like annoying dub sub gatekeeping bullshit that you see with a lot of foreign stuff. Don't watch the dub of Squid Game. It's actually bad. I messed around with it just to see how it is, and it is genuinely actually kind of terrible. So if you're gonna watch that, Dave, Angela, subtitles.
She doesn't want to watch it.
Okay,
so.
Yeah. And then we watched...
the only reason I might watch it is just for conversation wise of like, and I work with the majority of people that are either right now are either 20 years younger than me or 10 or 12 years older than me. So there's really nobody like around my age right now, and like that's affecting it. Like there's pandemic aside, pandemic stuff going on. Like that's like I come home and if it's a Thursday night, I turn on Thursday night football. If there's a playoff baseball game, I turn a playoff baseball game on. If there's Sunday football on, I turn Sunday football on, and then it's just on, and I'm working on stuff. Like I put together some stuff today. And just other things as we've been working on the house, and I just don't have anybody that's like around my same, like when I go to work, like talking about sports is just there, and I'm sure I'll just have NBA games on sometimes or college basketball just be on, and it's just background noise, and that's time when I could be playing video games, but trying to find like this new routine of like all the stuff that we probably did way too much stuff at one time for our house with like the appliances and the bike and I got to redo the floor in the back room, and we had yard work done and all that stuff we've had going on. Like that took a toll on us. We actually just drove 2 hours on Saturday to a water park in Ohio. Yeah. Angela and I decided, like, we took Owen and we went to Kalahari Water Park, and he had a blast and we had a blast just going down water slides. The kid's 2 inches shorter than 48 inches at 6 years old. So there's only like 4 rides he couldn't go on or 4 slides he couldn't go on.
Yeah.
But it was just one of those things where Angela and I were just like, we were going to take him to the pumpkin patch and get some other stuff and let him have some some harvest Halloween fun and carve some pumpkins. But Mother Nature was like rainy and mud and cold. And I'm like, I'm not doing that with a 6-year-old. Yeah. So we took him to the water park. But those are things that are just going on in our lives, like constantly, of that are happening that are just taking away some of my time and energy from playing games. And then my job is just a PIA right now. So.
Yeah. So for me, what I've been playing is Metroid Dread still. Not getting super deep into that.
Bought it today.
You bought it today.
Yes, it's in my house.
Yeah, so I've been playing that. The only thing I can say about it is it's just like after several years of playing Metroidvania games, it's nice to just have a fucking Metroid game. Just because, you see everyone trying to emulate it, but only Nintendo can put out a legitimate Metroid game. So it's just a really good Metroid game. Like there's nothing much to say about it. I don't really feel like they're doing anything crazy innovative. It's just here's Metroid from Nintendo. I don't know what developer actually developed it, but Metroid Nintendo probably made sure it followed specific guidelines. But it's just
Nintendo developed it.
Yeah, despite whatever developer actually developed it. Yeah. Though I know there's controversy where some of the developers aren't getting like in the credits or something. So there's like some weird stuff happening there. But for the most part, it's like, it's a good Metroid game. And that's kind of all you need, especially I would love to see what like the list of Metroidvanias released since the last 2D Metroid game looks like, because I'm sure that list is in the hundreds right now. And then I've been staying up way too late almost every night playing Back for Blood. And there's 4 acts in the game, and I just started Act 3, because basically every night there's someone who either just picks up Back for Blood or has been stuck in a chapter waiting for people. So I've replayed the first act probably a dozen or so times, and I have no problem doing that because it's just a fun co-op game to just like talk on the microphone, or just fill up and try and collect cards and just do all the in-game achievements in terms of like, there's an achievement like kill 53,000 ridden, which are the zombies. Mm-hmm. That's going to take forever. So anytime someone's like, I want to play with you guys, but I haven't finished the first act yet, it's like, okay, let's restart the act completely, as opposed to just jumping in the middle of it. So I've just been going through that over and over again, has been.
It's always
fun.
important in a game like that to get that loop to where it's actually worth the other player's time to help you go back. And like Destiny has been able to achieve that. Division kind of achieved it, and it sounds like what you're saying is that Back 4 Blood is achieving it, where it is not a waste of your time, where you do it anyways to help your friend, but like the third or fourth or fifth time you're like, gosh damn, I don't. Okay. But now it's like, it's cool. I'll get some stuff. I'll get some more cards. I'll get some more kills. I'll get some more achievements.
And that's basically what it turns into. Just like, I just started to dabble into building different decks of cards, because you can just build a deck based on your playstyle you want. Like, if you want a melee-focused character, you can get just cards that make you the greatest melee zombie killing machine you can create. And then there's other ones where it's like, you know what, I just want a really fast character, and there are like a dozen cards that you can collect that can make your character super fast. So you can build out different, character builds based on these decks. So when someone's like, oh, I just want to run through Act 1 again, it's like, cool, let's do that. And also the game is actually really difficult on the higher levels. Or like the
that's
higher
what he's talking about right now. He said the leap from casual to veteran is crazy.
Yeah, so running through...
Or ridiculous, sorry.
Yeah, running through the acts over and over again just to get like muscle memory isn't a bad thing. And then also to make sure you just have the right cards unlocked for when you try and get the veteran or nightmare modes under your belt.
Spawn trapping, is that a thing? Like knowing where they're coming from?
So the AI is actually the AI director, or whatever you want to call it. That's like the Left 4 Dead term. Is pretty good at, like, if you stand still long enough, it'll just keep sending stuff at you. So you can try doing that. But for the most part, what you're going to want to do is like the side stuff. So they'll be like, hey, just make it to the end of the level is always the goal. But they'll be like, hey, find some specimens or deliver this specific thing to there, and we'll give you bonus points. Or if all 4 of your members make it to the safe room, there's a money bonus. Or as long as no one goes down, there's a bonus. So you want to kind of focus on the side goals on those lower difficulties, just so you can unlock more stuff later. So there is definitely some depth there.
Is the difficulty changes, is that reflective in rewards?
I believe it is, but I mostly have been sticking with the the easy and medium difficulties, just to like level up as much as possible. Just because there's a steep jump.
It sounds like going into veteran might be like, okay, all 4 of us are playing a full stack deck.
Basically, like you need to kind of coordinate with like, okay, you're going to do melee, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and then just go from there.
Okay. Yeah, he's saying that he thinks that you get more points to buy more cards. So completing at a higher difficulty level gives you more points that let you buy more cards to make it. Okay. Yeah.
So
if they can, like, that was always a concern that you and I have been talking about for months when we found out this had a card system of like, is it going to be able to nail that card system loop and still be a fun cooperative shooter? And it sounds like what everybody is saying as of right now, the first 3 weeks, month, or whatever, is that it's doing that.
Yeah, it's doing it. The only thing that this game kind of failed at is like the cosmetics that they want you to unlock with points and stuff. Those are all fucking trash. Like,
but they can, like, I feel like they can fix that.
They totally can fix that. They can give interesting
versus
stuff.
Like, it's not fun.
Yeah.
Like, you can't fix that.
Yeah, like hopefully they're holding good stuff for. Like, they haven't done their roadmap in terms of like when
or like a winner, like a really cool winter event or something.
Yeah, that's what they're gonna need to do is like get their cosmetic stuff there, because once everyone beats the story, like they're going to release like DLC campaigns, but you need to give people stuff to do in between those DLC campaigns if you want them to stick around for the next campaign. Especially the way they have it now, which I love, is just if one person in your group has a DLC, you guys can all play it as long as that person is the host.
Have they said if that stuff's going to come with Game Pass as well?
No, you just need to buy the expansion pass if you want that. But Game Pass people just get the base game. But like, as long as one person wants to invest the money into it, they'll be able to do that. But I think they're going to need to get their cosmetics in line in terms of like keeping people interested from campaign to campaign, especially if they're just going to release one campaign at a time. So they need to figure that stuff out, just because I'm going to need something to do. If they say their next campaign isn't until like January, like I'm going to need something to achieve for. I'm going to forget the game, and then the campaign's going to come out, and then I'm going to have to like try and gather my friends of just like, you guys still interested in this game? So we definitely need something to like.
Yeah, I
keep
mean,
people
them putting it
interested.
on Game Pass was a huge win, and then them doing the DLC like they've done the DLC where only the host has to own it and everybody else can experience, I think is also a really good idea because, like, oh, this is actually kind of cool. Like the guy that there's always one in the group that's like, whatever job they have or don't have, that they buy everybody has this guy in their group or person in their group of like they buy every game that comes out. Like, dude, did you even play that yet? Nah, man, it's just sitting over there, but I just picked it up. I was at the store today. So there's always that one person in your group, and then for them to be able to everybody able to play with him and be like, oh, this is actually worth it. Oh, he's not online tonight. Hey, you know what? It's fun enough. I'm gonna buy it anyway, so we can all play. Like that's a huge thing. And then again, I can't seem to remember, but is there cross play?
Yeah, it's crossplay. So like
Okay.
we've been playing with like people on Xbox, on PC, and it all
Awesome.
works pretty well. The voice chat's been pretty stable, like the in-game
Cool.
voice chat, so we haven't had to rely on Discord or anything like that.
Perfect.
So they nailed that. If they can get cross progression in,
Right.
that would be
Yeah,
very
I
helpful.
remember us talking about that now. Yeah. Okay.
For someone like me specifically, but like I could see other people interested in cross
When
progression.
Sarah's doing a Final Fantasy raid, I can't play Back for Blood. I don't have all my cards.
That's basically what I'm having to do. Like I'm going to like probably sometime this week start playing on the Xbox, and I'm gonna have to rebuild
Just to
all
have a
those
little
decks.
mini deck.
And that's when I'm gonna be like, oh, the gameplay doesn't hold up because I have to rebuild all my character
Yeah.
stuff. So that's pretty much been it for playing. I'm just kind of enjoying that, casually playing Metroid Dread. I know Guardians comes out next week, so I'll probably get Guardians. I have that in my GameFly lock list or whatever, to where as long as I return my current game, they'll send that near launch. So I'll probably pick up Guardians next week through GameFly. I have a list of games that I am looking to like try and play. Like I still want to mess with the Hot Wheels game and the All Stars Brawl game from Nickelodeon. So looking to like utilize.
Yeah, I
a
keep
bunch of
seeing
stuff.
like Power Rangers like Fight for the Grid like super edition on sale, and I'm like, huh.
Yeah,
I know
I've
Michael's talked about this fighting game being really good, and this is supposed to have all the stuff on it. I'm like, and I think that could be something I could kind of like if I'm gonna introduce Owen to a fighting game. I think this might be the one.
Yeah, they've added
Like-
voice acting to it, so it's significantly a better experience than when I played back when I reviewed it. That game
I
was
was like 6 or 7 years old when my brother let me play Street Fighter. I turned out totally fine.
yeah. But the Power Rangers game, like I reviewed it before they added voice acting, before they add all the DLC characters, and that was a really fun game. So I've been seeing that too. I think the Ultimate Grid Edition's like $30, which is
Yeah.
definitely something I might end up picking up. But I'm also hoping like, so when I see Nickelodeon's All Stars Brawl or whatever it's called, it seems like there's a lot of different like shortcomings with that in terms like there's no voice acting. It's actually kind of a quiet game. That I'm hoping that they look at like Power Rangers and see the lawn support that game got, and then All Stars Brawl will end up finding its way like the Power Rangers game did. Because I would imagine the Nickelodeon game is significantly more powerful or popular than the Power Rangers game in terms of like the IP strength.
Mm-hmm.
And then like the character lists kind of leaked for Nickelodeon All Stars Brawl, which actually kind of seemed interesting, except for the addition of Garfield.
Kind of want that Ninja Turtle Xbox.
Oh yeah, the Nickelodeon,
the SpongeBob one? No, thank you. But that Ninja, that Leonardo Xbox looks really cool.
Yeah, like I want to get more information on like how they're going to support that game in the future, just because the character list seems kind of interesting. Like I don't know if you saw like who was leaked for it.
No.
But it's like Rocco was leaked for it, which just makes sense to include Rocco.
Yeah.
Garfield was leaked because I guess CBS owns it and they own Nickelodeon.
Viacom, yeah.
And then there was also, I forget who else is in there, but they actually seem like they listened for who they're adding. But I think that they're adding like Shredder from Ninja Turtles, and then they're adding like 3 more SpongeBob characters. So there's hope that they do have long-term plans for this game. But it's on my list. It's one of those games I'll probably pick up on like Black Friday when it like drops to like 20 or something, and then get it from there. But that's it for me for playing and watching, because we talked about the watching stuff earlier.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So you can send us questions using hashtag AskDigitalDays. You can post them in the Discord channel. There's a Ask Digital Days sub server in there. You can send them to us on Twitter. You can send them to us on Facebook. Just in the Facebook group or on the page. So space Dagu. So
Yeah.
sorry. What do you guys feel about remaster / remakes? I really don't. I really don't care about them, as I would rather play them on the original system unless they are expanded or different, like the Resident Evil games. I was disappointed to hear that Sony had bought Bluepoint, as I don't want a remaster station. Well, I saw today, and I didn't get a chance to read the article. I was only seeing headlines, but I saw today that Bluepoint is pretty much confirmed that their Bloodborne is done. The Bloodborne remaster is done, and they're working on Bloodborne 2.
That's what I saw too. Like
yeah,
the Bloodborne remaster, because that's just a straightforward port that they can do relatively quickly, as we know, like with some of these, like the Uncharted collection. So they're pretty good at just getting stuff up and running on like the updated engines.
Shinier.
But yeah, like overall, I don't mind remasters, remakes, and I think we're at a point where the systems are becoming more streamlined in terms of generation to generation, that like that will go away, the ability to cash in on a remaster remake, because backwards compatibility will just become like a natural
standard
thing. Like yeah, just a given. Because like in terms of like if you look at Bluepoint's work, Demon's Souls was like okay, like they remade it from the ground up, it looked fine. But then you look at like the Uncharted collection, and I was just like, hey, here's Uncharted running on PS4. But where I think that the remake remaster is important is for stuff like Shadow of the Colossus. Shadow of the Colossus is one of the all-time great games, but if I would tell anyone pick up a PS2 and try and play Shadow of the Colossus, they would probably consider that game trash, because it just doesn't hold up, it doesn't play well on the PS2. But Bluepoint remade it for the PS4, and now it is a game that you can tell someone to play, and they would get the experience that we got on the PS2.
Or Demon's Souls.
Yeah, Demon's Souls to a point, yeah, because Demon's Souls was kind of rough, but like I look at Shadow of the Colossus as like the perfect example of why remaking and remastering games is very important, because man, I was trying to play Shadow of the Colossus on the PS2 a couple years ago before the PS4 remake came out, and that game's very difficult to get into in modern times. But the PS4 one is damn near perfect. Like,
what do you mean you want me to hold up on the D-pad L1 and square at the same time? Like,
yeah. Why is this game running 20 frames per second? It's like, well, that's all the PS2 could really do at the time. So
if they are giving, like in terms of Bluepoint exactly, if maybe Bluepoint kind of does this every other thing, or with the Sony acquisition, if they're able to kind of give them the financial stability that they can maybe have a remake team and a team that's working on Bloodborne 2 or the next IP at the same time, I would think that would be potential to be very cool. I think the biggest thing that you're seeing too now is some of the reports that we've been seeing over the last couple months as Jim Ryan's been doing interviews of like, once a game hits a certain plateau on PlayStation, a sales number, that's when they talk about bringing it to PC. And so therefore, if you're going to bring it to PC, it needs to be cleaned up. You have to make some adjustments to the way the game functions for it to work on PC. And there are certain things that PC players expect, like a field of view slider and adjustable settings for frame rate, or or field of view and everything else, like I just mentioned. That if you're going to do that already, you might as well just release it again on PS5 just to see.
Yeah,
you might as well.
Yeah, because
it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah,
like the stuff they release on Steam or on PC now, and then PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series is all the same.
Yeah.
Before we used to, back in the PS3 days of the cell processor, we used to hear about the nightmare of that. So games were running better on Xbox 360 than they were on PlayStation 3 because of cross development of 360s and PCs. And then that kind of that narrative changed a little bit with PS4 because of how much the Xbox One was built with entertainment as the foundation. That affected it a little bit, and now like all of that crap is gone with PS5, Xbox Series, and PC. It's all gone.
Yeah, you not to oversimplify the work. You take the mid specs from PC and then you throw it on the PS5, and you're just like, all right, we're all done here, for the most part. So, yeah, like, what are your thoughts? Like, do you think like the remake remaster stuff is going to go away eventually, just because of backwards compatibility being a standard?
Go away eventually, yes, because I don't like how far can we go with frame rate?
Yeah, no, that's we're gonna hit that wall.
So right, I think that there are still plenty of things that people would want to see from PS3. There's still tons of stuff that you want to see from PS4, as well as maybe stuff that was missed on Xbox One because of how poor the console sold.
Yeah.
I think for the most part, some of that's been alleviated with Game Pass and stuff. But yes, I agree with you. Like when we're in the whatever it is 2024, we're not gonna be having a conversation about Ratchet and Clank being remastered.
Yeah, unless it's we'll probably still get the unless it's
we're not gonna have a Miles Morales remaster.
Yeah, the only stuff we're gonna hear about are actual classic old games being rebuilt from the ground up. Which at that point I don't even consider them remasters anymore.
Yeah, because what Capcom did with Resident Evil was essentially a reimagining.
Yeah, we'll see more reimaginings than we will remasters and remakes at a certain point.
As long as we kind of go that route, I'm good with it. And again, the interesting part is going to be we've talked about recently, the Last of Us remake for PS5. If it is a thing, which everybody believes it is, it would just correspond with the television release. And we've seen with the Witcher franchise when they did the Netflix thing, the huge spike that game got for because of the franchise on Netflix,
which is definitely why they're considering doing a lot of this stuff.
Yeah. And we're going to see The Witcher 3. I saw rumblings this weekend about it's being rated for PS5, like a PS5 and an Xbox One or Xbox
Which means
Series
it's coming
version.
Soon. And the series is coming back in January. Coincidence? Probably not, but definitely why they do that.
Yeah. So I'm okay with it as long as it's not just like we said, like a copy paste, where they're just we're just going to release the game again on PS5 and we really didn't do anything to it.
Yeah.
Or release the game on Xbox, and we didn't really do anything to it. So those are the ones that I have more of a problem with. But even the I'm hearing good things about Vanquish.
Oh yeah, Vanquish was fine. And that was just a straightforward hey, it runs now, and it's at 60 frames.
Or the problems the one that I remember before, the problems that Bayonetta had on PS3. That's
gonna be the funny thing is Nintendo is gonna make a fucking killing because they're basically starving their current player base for anything that can run 60 frames. So that
here's Twilight Princess and now it works.
But all these Switch games, when I saw the trailer for Bayonetta 3, I'm oh, that looks like an okay Switch game. I wish it was running on better hardware. So Nintendo's definitely going to hit us in the next generation of just oh, here's all these games that you got to pay for again, but they're running at reasonable frame rates.
Yeah.
So Nintendo is going to be probably the one that's going to people are going to hate the most, but they're going to buy every single time. They're going to sell 30 million copies for all their games. Here's
Breath of the Wild redone without dropping or popping.
But that's where we're going to see Nintendo. So we won't see the remake remaster stuff forever from PlayStation and Xbox, but Nintendo is going to just run that for the next generation and a half.
Yeah.
Because they're also the one console manufacturer that I could see being our games aren't backwards compatible. The new Switch can't run the old Switch games. You
have to put the cartridge in upside down so it won't work.
Yeah, they'll find a way of we reshape the cartridges so they don't fit. They would do.
It's all amiibo based now.
But PlayStation and Xbox, they're gonna that well's gonna run dry eventually for them.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so that's our show this week. So again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to send them to us. Whatever you think of them, just tweet them at us. Michael's got this ever-growing document that he uses, and we keep track of it. If you see any interesting news stories, just quote tweet it or just tag us in the tweet, and we'll flag it. Usually, if Michael or myself likes it, then we know we've seen it. So that's we try to make sure that we do that for you guys as well. Post it on Facebook, and we'll try to interact with that as well. So if you see stuff that you want us to talk about or you think that would be interesting topics, please send them in. Please send in your questions. All that stuff is always super helpful. So you can send all that stuff. The socials, the main account on Twitter is @DigitalDaysPod. Michael's is @TheFirstMJC. Mine is @GoodDaveHunt. The Facebook group and the Discord server are both linked in the show notes. Again, if you are listening on Podcast Addict or on Apple Podcasts, whatever they use now, if you are able to leave us a review with a rating and some words, that is super, super helpful. Podcast Addict, I think you have to sign in. Apple, I think you're always signed in, whether you realize that you are or you aren't. And there's a lot of you that listen on Apple, so please help us out. That would be super, super, super helpful. And then patreon.com/digitaldaysgaming, $1 tip jar, $3 gets you access to a private Discord server. $5 gets you 24-hour early access to the numbered shows. So this show you could get on Wednesday morning instead of Thursday morning. And again, like I mentioned, you get a separate, especially like on Podcast Addict, you get a separate RSS feed that we send you that is sent to you by Patreon. That you can still run it on your phone. So if that's something that's kind of like where I already like this way the system works, and I get it. We looked into all of that super heavy before we rolled any of this out. So there's a separate link. There's two different, like on my Podcast Addict feed, I have two different Digital Days Gaming icons. And then $7 gets you the monthly bonus episode. We just did one on the greatest year in gaming. And still looking for other topics. If you want it to be like Squid Game, or if you want it to be a show, Michael, I think, is just waiting for somebody to recommend some type of wrestling documentary or some terrible movie that I need to watch that he likes. Yep. For us to do a show on.
Dave watches animes still on the table. Like, he has to watch the first episode of like 3 animes. Is still on the table.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be behind a $7 paywall for sure.
Yeah.
Again, just Discord server, Facebook group, playing games, trying to get everything linked up. I think I do a little bit better if somebody's like, hey, like, I want to play Black for Blood. Like, if you're messaging me, I'll be more inclined to get on if I know somebody else is waiting for me or wanting to play. I don't do a great job of self-motivating myself to play video games all the time. I can find other things to tinker with, or just watch more crap television. And fall asleep on the couch. I fell asleep on the couch the other day watching football and stayed there the whole night.
It makes sense. Football is boring as shit.
Oh, my God. Yeah, you're going to go watch your Bulls team compete to be the 6th best team in the East.
Hell yeah. Can't wait. It's going to be great. Do the Lions are they even good?
Do you even have a quarterback or a head coach that you actually want to keep?
See, I don't watch football, so it doesn't really matter if you insult the Bears.
You're owned by a guy that lives in Green Bay.
That's fine. Mr. Rogers seems like a nice gentleman.
You would like that guy with like the man bun, right?
Yeah, I don't give a shit about football. Trubisky's not our quarterback anymore.
Are the White Sox still playing, or is their coach died down?
No. He's been reanimated. We actually freeze him in the off season, and then we'll thaw his ass out in April when we need him. So it's good.
Yeah, that'll keep her from drinking and driving, right?
Hopefully. That's the hope. Do the Lions still play football? Lions still play.
Yeah, somebody's got to be able to be beat up every week and make the coach cry and bite some kneecaps. Okay?
You do need someone in last place, because otherwise there's no last place. Yeah.
Otherwise, people are gonna just keep talking about Urban Meyer going to his bar. So.
Oh, is that coach?
No, that's not our coach. Okay. But I'm saying otherwise they're going to talk about him. So.
Okay, yeah. He fondles.
That might be enough sports talk for everybody else right now. So.
Yeah, we got to the dark side of football where we talk about like middle-aged men fondling college people.
All right, that's our show for this week. So everyone get out there, have a great week, and keep moving forward.
Oh, they don't play defense, do they? I'm looking at some of these scores. Don't be a dick. See ya.
Fuck you.
Look at you taking personal.